Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Clean Libertarian Podcast. And y'all are in for a treat today. Let me tell you, I had probably one of the most amazing conversations I think that I've had on this podcast so far with a couple of people that I met at the Oklahoma Libertarian Party Convention. This is Tiffany and Candy. They are from Sacred Pillars Church. And what they do is they promote healing and spirituality through plant-based medicines. And there's a lot that goes into it. And these two, like, one of the things that stood out to me is it was Tiffany that was sitting on the panel with me at the convention. And afterwards I got to, kind of talk to both her and Candy for a little bit. But, you meet certain people and there's just kind of a lightness about them, right? And I could tell instantly that these were two people who were on this path of radical self-improvement. And it was every bit confirmed in this interview. So I'm excited for y'all to hear this. I hope y'all enjoy it. And without any further ado, here is Tiffany and Candy. All right, Candy and Tiffany, thank y'all so much for taking the time to be here this evening with me. How are y'all doing?
Good, thank you.
Doing great. Thanks for inviting us, Drew.
Absolutely. And I'm sure I'll mention it in the intro, but I'm also now, like, I first met y'all at the Oklahoma Libertarian Party State Convention. And just, it was a breath of fresh air meeting somebody who has the outlook that y'all do and doing the work that you do in this environment. And I've been really, really looking forward to this conversation. So I'm just going to kind of put the ball in your court. I really want to hear, like, how did y'all get to where you are today? Like, what is y'all's story?
Sure. I'll go ahead and start. I'm Tiffany Stewart, and I'm co-founder of Sacred Pillars Church. So for me, my healing journey using plant medicines, and we might call it plant medicines, we might call it entheogens, psychedelics. There's all kinds of different names for the plants that we use for our healing and transformation. So for me, I specifically started my own healing journey, my own spiritual transformation journey about 5 years ago. I've had, like so many people, just a lifetime of trauma and, abuse and PTSD and depression. So I was pretty shut down as an adult, very, very numb, alcoholic, drug addiction, really dysfunctional relationships. I was pretty miserable throughout most of my life. About 12 years ago, I got into 12-step recovery and was able to get off of drugs and alcohol, but it did not touch really the internal wounds of healing. All those wounded parts within myself that were caused by different traumas and abuses throughout my life. So to fast forward then, about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I was actually at that time on opiates for chronic back pain and hip pain. And I was on a pretty high dose, and I knew I was taking them as prescribed. However, I knew that it was just absolutely crippling me. Like, it just so numbed me and shut me off from everything that I needed to get off of them. So I started actually using cannabis at that time, and I was able to get off of all the opiates miraculously. It's such a difficult, challenging substance to get away from, but I was able to do that. So that really opened up my eyes to what these natural substances around us, like what's literally just growing in the ground outside, can do for us, despite what Joe Schmo neighbor might be talking about with it, the war on drugs and this crap, just like, like there's something to this. Like, I literally used, it was just CBD oil at that time. I literally used CBD oil to get off of to work through the withdrawal effects from the opiates. So that opened up my eyes. And so fast forward a little bit, I was introduced first to the potential of using ayahuasca for my healing, because at that time I really started to open up to, I had some things happen in life that I had to look back, I had to look within me. I had to say, okay, the common denominator in all of my unhappiness at this point is me. So what am I
Damn
going to do about
it. That's brutal too, isn't it? Like when you hit that spot, damn it.
But it was such a pivotal point in my life, because it was like, okay, I am so ready to be open and willing and surrender to a different way, a way of really having to get centered within myself and look at myself for who I am and what I am, to see myself as whole and complete, and to finally be able to feel, like really truly be able to feel my emotions, and actually look at those traumas for what they were. And I did that, first started to use ayahuasca to do that. And then that really had some just absolutely amazing, powerful experiences with ayahuasca. It is a phenomenal entheogen for helping people heal and see themselves more clearly. If you're really willing to do that, it can be very challenging as well, but absolutely profound and life changing. I started to then use psilocybin mushrooms, and that was amazing. For me, psilocybin mushrooms were a bit more accessible than ayahuasca, and I could use it very regularly to continue my healing journey. So like everything has changed for me. Like I feel like I have been like literally born again probably 8 times in the last 5 years. I am a completely different person. Drew, if you knew me like even just 5 years ago, you just wouldn't believe the transformation. I couldn't smile. I weighed 70 more pounds than I did. I was unhappy. I was so unhappy. I just didn't speak. I didn't have anything to say. I just like I'm waking up every single morning, not knowing why on the planet am I here. Like I just didn't have meaning or connection to anything. But everything has changed, and I feel so much connection and purpose, and connection and purpose with other people, as well as a deep spiritual connection. So anyway, out of our Candy and I, who's here next to me, I swear I'll shut my mouth in a minute. She can talk. So we've been on our healing journey together with plant medicines, and what we realized is that we were bringing in some friends to do some of these psilocybin mushroom journeys with us, and we went, holy crap, like this is so powerful. However, like if you don't know how you're using it and approaching it in a safe, informed way, and really know how to work with the plant medicines, the entheogens, you can have a really bad experience. So just very naturally, organically, Candy and I wanted to help people and have potentially have the same profound experiences we did, but do it in a safe, structured environment, have somewhere to go for that assistance. So that is not a long story short, it's a lot long. But that's how I see that we got started in this direction.
That's amazing. Candy, what's your story?
Yeah, my story is not, I mean, there's a lot of similarities and of course differences. As a kid, I mean, I grew up I thought my childhood and everything was great. And I was an athlete and, played through, high school, through college, and everything seemed to be good. But I always never did feel like I really fit in. There was always something there. And I was always, alcohol was a friend of mine back then at a young age. And, eventually when I was 26, I went into recovery. And back in, when I was younger. And so, by the time I was, 23, I think I had 2 DUIs and, I was not in a really good place.
Right.
So I started my own transformation of back then just in 12-step recovery, which really made a huge difference in my life at that time. That's a pivotal point in my life. And, back then I realized I kind of had to change everything. It wasn't just like taking a substance away and then everything was going to be fine.
Right.
And so, through the years, things seemed to be pretty good. I had some like sexual trauma and stuff in my life that I really wasn't aware of until I took the alcohol and everything away and started having emotions coming up, and had my own healing of doing some traditional healing through therapy, through inner child work, all these different things out there. And they all did pretty good. I mean, I felt like I grew a lot through that. And, I grew up pretty much in Oklahoma, and I moved away for 19 years. And I came back here. It's been about, I guess, 7 years ago to Oklahoma. And when I came back here, I had a lot of losses in my life. I lost I had a 19-year relationship that had ended and ended. We had a business together, and that business went to the wayside as well. And then my mom got diagnosed with cancer when I moved back here about 2 months later. And so I lost her about a year and a half later, which I'm real fortunate I got to spend that time with her. But through that time is like my whole foundation. Everything seemed to shift, and everything kind of just got ripped out from under me to make me take a look at my life again. And at that time, it was, things they weren't terrible, but it was just, I needed to look at something that I always didn't have that connection. There was always something with a connection with people that I always explain it like there's this window and you got that piece of glass and a hand's on one side and others on the other, and there's just that disconnect. And I will tell you today, I don't have that. I met Tiffany, and she, I wanted to start getting back into sweats, Native American sweats.
Yes.
I always, when I was here before, I was involved a little bit in powwows and stuff like that. So I got back here, I wanted to get involved back into kind of the Native American culture. And through that, I kind of got introduced to like Tiffany and some other people, and they had done this ayahuasca ceremony. And I will tell you, I saw profound changes after that. There just been several of them, and I really piqued my interest. And so after that, I could tell I was kind of drawn to it. And so with me, it was a big kind of step to go to using plant medicine or theogens, because over 29 years of my life, I've been always no alcohol, no mind altering chemicals. But this was something different. This was about healing and transformation and going in with an intention with it. And so, we started, I think I started out with like psilocybin. And then I had some profound, my first time was a profound experiences. I had self-awarenesses that I didn't even know were there. And it was amazing to me. And so by using the plant medicine, these things that I could look inside that I never was be able to see before. And once I had the awareness, I could change them.
Well, now, can you describe that real quick? Like you talk about self-awareness that you didn't have before. What does that look like?
So, the first time that I did psilocybin, it was down actually outside, and it was out by a river. And what came up was I needed to use my voice. I was pretty quiet.
Okay.
And I didn't, for me, because I'm tall, I'm like 6 foot tall, and, I can go into a place and be noticed. I really don't like that. I didn't like that. And so I was quiet and I didn't speak up, but it came to, I need to start using my voice. And in that voice, it meant I need to start standing up for myself and my own boundaries. I like that authority. I like to please people. I was used to getting people's approval, not even really realizing it. I didn't think I did, but it's like I need to use my voice and speak my truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that came out very, very clearly. And to the fact it told me to go down by the river and start like just kind of scream, and I couldn't do it at that time.
Uh-huh.
And so, now I can. Now I've got a voice. But just that's a kind of a simple example of that, but that was so profound. And since that time, I've been able to change. I'm able to speak my truth. And so that's the type of self-awareness. And once I'm aware of that, then I can change it.
Right. Yeah. That's very introspective.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I wanted to ask that is because like that is anytime we can get a new perspective on ourselves, it's beneficial.
Yeah. And the plant medicine does that. It is because it helps get past the ego.
Yes.
And get into a heart space. And when you can get past your ego and have these awareness, plant medicines are very intelligent. They'll show us what we need. And, if we don't see it, we can't change it. It's like those things that we always want to keep changing. And it's like relationships. Someone the other day said, I think my picker's broken. And I used to say that. It's like, yeah, because I kept looking for the same type of people and it wasn't them, it was me, but I was never able to see that. And so once you can see your part in it, then you can change it.
That's beautiful is what that is.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that if I could.
Yeah, go for it.
So to me, the number one benefit and result that I have gotten from using entheogens is the self-awareness, is being, and what I really mean by that is being able to see myself clearly, being able to see my thoughts for what they are, acceptance for what they are. If they're crappy thoughts, acknowledging that they're crappy thoughts, accepting and acknowledging my emotions for what they are, accepting and acknowledging my body and how I treat my body. And am I treating it well or am I not treating it well? I'd like to share probably the most, there's all kinds of profound experiences that I've had with plant medicines, but I'll tell you the very first night I ever did ayahuasca, very first night, it was so miserable. So what I was being shown was there's like a tapestry in front of me, like a canvas. And I would have some kind of crappy thought of my own about myself, about a situation, about somebody else, so basically some kind of very limiting, stuck old belief that is manifesting as some crappy ass thought. And that thought would turn into a puzzle piece and be put onto the tapestry. And I swear this went on for hours, and I was begging the medicine to stop. But basically that went on for every crappy thought. Basically these puzzle pieces all came together. And the medicine said, this is you creating, what you're seeing in front of you is your reality. Like it is,
wow.
Your thoughts, your crappy thoughts are literally putting pieces on the canvas of your life. And it is reality. You create your reality with every single thought that you have. And that has stuck with me. And I don't always remember that lesson, but I would tell you it's sure better. But and in our healing and personal transformation, spiritual transformation doesn't always need to be hard. But when we have really stuck, limiting self-beliefs, beliefs about ourselves, about the world, about organization structures, whatever it is, it's really kind of hard to get unstuck with things like that. And for me, I've had to have some really tough lessons to really drill it home of, oh yeah, I do create my reality. And today I can see that I can at least see when I'm having a crappy thought about something. And it's usually a crappy thought about myself. Honestly, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money, and whatever it is. But I can have the self-awareness today. I can catch it and say, okay, is that really true? Or is that
pretty fast for you? Like when you make that acknowledgement now, is it kind of like thought enters, no entertainment whatsoever? You're like, oh, that's bad.
I would say probably about 90% of the time it
Wow.
goes like that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Awesome.
profound.
And what seems to happen with that is, and it takes some practice, but it's like embracing that thought and giving it a little bit of space. Because, what I've learned and what the plant medicine's shown is, we always want to try to push it away. It's like, oh, I don't think I'm good enough. And you keep focusing on that. It's like, why don't I think I'm good enough? And it's like giving that thought that space. And it's like, oh, okay, you're there,
Yeah.
but you don't attach to it. And so you're aware of it and not attached to it.
Yeah, you
give it-
acknowledge it.
And yeah.
You and integrate it
Yeah.
and say, okay, yes, I'm having this crappy thought. You acknowledge it, and then you basically have a conversation with yourself about it. You try to understand more deeply, why am I having this thought?
Mhm.
What is the story that I'm telling myself? And then you have an opportunity to change it. You get to tell yourself something different. You get to react with a different behavior or respond differently, or whatever that is. It's absolutely life changing. The potential of what entheogens can do with literally changing your mind and your perception and your awareness of your entire complete reality. Like, if you are really serious about using entheogens for changing your life, you better be ready to change everything. And it's not about changing things outside of you.
Yeah.
Like, you only thing you have to do is change you. You have to change everything within you, and then everything on the outside of you changes too. But
It's like that old adage, if I'm not the problem, there is no solution type of thing.
Yeah.
And so like the trap that I fall into with like those negative thoughts is I won't catch it until I go in and out of having a good habit of doing like a 10-step inventory. When I lay my head down at night, I'm kind of going through the playback reel of the day, and I'm like, oh man, I had a horrible attitude all day long. To have that ability to, in the moment, on the fly, make that acknowledgement. Wow. I mean, that's next level right there. I mean, that's a new dimension of living,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it seems to take you, where I used to do those 10 steps, or like, oh, I had this type of day, and you can acknowledge it and identify it, but it can take you to the next level of where that's coming from, what triggered that during the day. So instead of every night I'm having some crappy moment that I can, let go of, or write it down, but it keeps coming back. The thing is, it can take it a little bit further, so you can see where is that really coming from. And typically it comes back from some, want to call it a trauma, which being born can be a trauma. So it doesn't have,
Right.
Trauma's got this stigma to it, but it could be just a friend, ditching you when you were young, that could cause that. So it's like you kind of get to the root cause of it, so that you start making that transformational change.
And kind of, since we're on the topic, both of y'all had mentioned, having trauma in your past that you dealt with. What did that process look like for you? Like in what ways did, this stuff help you out and help you process that? Because like me personally, I've got a lot of trauma, and like the 12 steps won't fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, we all came from the rooms. I still attend, but that is one thing that I have not become blatantly aware of in recent years, is that there is some of that nastier, darker stuff that it's deep down in there that's harder to process, that I don't know how. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to hear how y'all did that and what that looked like.
Yeah. And I'll share on that, because, I didn't realize that I really had trauma. I kind of shared that earlier. And when I got sober, it came to my attention that there's some sexual abuse, and someone, back in my family that was a predator. I had no idea until I was 26, and I just asked a question. But that put me on a healing journey, and I did a lot of work on that. And, I had no memory of it, but I knew I had the behaviors of being a victim. And so I was able to work on those, but there was still, and today I still have some of that I still work on. But when I did plant medicine, and I thought I was done with all that. I'd done a lot of work on it in the years, and I thought I was all healed and good. When I did plant medicine, I was actually had memories. It brought back the memories, which I was able to go back and heal that child. And I think that's why my relationships today, my trust issues that I had, I really don't have those as much today in most days.
Wow.
So by being able to bring back those memories and be able to process that has done a lot of healing. And I thought I was done with it.
Yeah.
So
that's huge right there. To being able to, because it's one thing to, because, okay, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to side rail or derail the conversation, but kind of like what my experience has been without using medicine to kind of go through this journey is that I find partial healing, but I still have, it might be a resentment, I don't know, but there's still that the trust issues that formulate there that kind of originate from those points in my life. And just, wow, hearing that, you've actually healed that completely. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say 100%. I still, there's still sometimes that can come up that still trigger, but it's my connection with people today is I feel that it's such a deeper level than I ever have. So, that has been, there's been a lot of healing in there. I always hate to say it. Anytime I say I'm done with something, it wants to come back again, but it's less every time, like if you've you've gone through and maybe done a 4-step, if you do another one, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say I am notorious. So like I'll burn through those steps, I'll work them quite often. And I am guilty of having like the same things pop up on 4-step over and over and over again. My sponsor's like, what the hell, dude? What are we doing here? I'm like, yeah, I'm trying. I swear I'm trying. But yeah. Now both of y'all came from, the 12-step world, the value that it has in a person's life, but you surely also know the tone in which gets met, especially here in Oklahoma, since we got medicinal. The second somebody mentions they have a card, they get treated a certain way. Like, what has been, if any, your experience with dealing with that type of mentality?
And I'll let Candy speak to that because she's more involved currently with the 12-step community.
Yeah, it's a real important community in my life. And, Sacred Pillars Church, and I want to say it's a different kind of church. I don't think we stated that. So, people know that, we don't have the pews and we don't have a location. We have different types of events really to help people find that divine self within them and find their true self and those self-awarenesses. And part of the church, the community part, because we're all about community. And the reason I'm bringing this up is we've learned a lot about community and how, like, I couldn't heal on my own. And, without, my recovery program, I don't know that I would have been able to heal. And so what we do with our meetings and stuff, there's a community aspect that's very, very similar in a way.
Okay.
And so, for me, I'm still involved in the 12-step community. And it's, I think it was more again, needing that approval. This has been my lesson, is judgment, people judging and needing their approval. And it would have been very easy for me to walk away, but it was important to me. Another part of it's like, I need to go there, because if I walk away, people are going to think, oh, look, they've left. This is what happens when you use entheogens for healing. And so I'm still involved in the community. And there's some people, my relationships have changed. Some people have embraced me. I've had other people that have had been around the rooms reach out. So it's just, most people have not walked away, though. I will say that.
And we're really clear that we just don't work with anybody and everybody that comes to the church. There's something, I think, just this last week where we just declined to work with them at this point because they're absolutely fresh, brand new, sober. And so 12-step recovery has its place for certain. And we are not big proponents of somebody that doesn't already have a demonstrated ability to not pick up substances and misuse them. We're just not eager to jump in and help people in those ways because, you can cause more harm than good if you're just jumping from one substance to the next, to the next, to the next. I think it's a little harder sometimes with something like ayahuasca or psilocybin mushrooms, because if you're really wanting to look at yourself clearly, the medicine can show you some really difficult things. But we have certainly seen people who jump to ceremony to ceremony to ceremony, or to plant medicine to plant medicine to plant medicine, looking for that fix on and escape. And we decline to work with those folks. So plant medicine isn't for everybody in many different respects. And if it's somebody that's new and sober, I don't recommend that they jump into plant medicine, and I don't believe Candy does either.
Yeah, it's and I've heard people that maybe have done plant medicine and stopped, don't want to use any substances like that. Most of those that I've heard did not have problems with them. But my thing with it is, if someone is a week sober and the plant medicine is going to get them into some deep feelings, which they don't even know how to stay sober yet. That was my thing. It's like, go get sober for 30 days and then go do this, and then maybe come back and talk to me. Because I don't, if someone's going to go right into medicine and don't know how to maybe deal with feelings, they're going to reach to the outside and be worse off.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're peeling back layers of the onion, doing
and they've, there's been research, John Hopkins, New York Institute, people have said, a ceremony can be worth 7 years of therapy. So it can get you to some layers. Like I said, it gets you past the ego, but you've got to be ready to do that.
Right. And just knowing that there is that much consideration you place into, who would qualify and who wouldn't, that's remarkable. I would say, so like from my point of view, we live in the prescription generation. Like, this is big pharma is all encompassing. They get to prescribe everything away. And often it's just a Band-Aid. Often it's just, there is no actual treatment going on. But what you two are describing is healing on a very real level that will have a lasting effect. And I think anybody who would look at the situation honestly would want to see somebody go the route that you help others go than to get on something that's just going to make them miserable for a lifetime. Mm-hmm. And specifically, I wasn't trying to do like a gotcha or anything like that. Like I asked because I have seen and currently know some folks who've been in the rooms for decades and now have some like terminal illness, and they're taking crazy amounts of opiates, that are prescribed. And, that's the socially acceptable thing to do. But they're afraid to death of going to using plant medicine or anything like that because of the stigma that is attached to it. I think anybody who is honest would say that, yeah, I'd rather see somebody go that route. And that's why I asked the question, though. In the time that the church has been open, how what are some of the greatest success stories? I mean, you told me your own. Like, has there been some really big ones that stand out to y'all?
Oh,
Gosh,
Yeah.
so many.
yeah. And just say this too before maybe you talk about that. We do the plant medicine ceremonies, but we have evolved and we do a lot of things that don't use the entheogens. So we have probably eight, I think we do about 8 events a month that where we do sharing circles, integration circles. We do 3 of those a month. And these are people that can come that haven't done plant medicine. And we do sound healing.
What do those two look like? Can you describe that? I'm sorry.
The sharing circles.
Yes, that and the sound healing too.
So, the sharing circles is where we get together. And a lot of times we use, it is a plant, but it's not a psychedelic. And it's called cacao. I don't know if you ever heard of cacao. It is the purest form of chocolate. It comes from the cocoa bean.
Okay.
And it helps open up the heart. We use it as it helps kind of open up. And we have what we call these Cacao Plus series that we do. And we use the cacao a lot during our sharing circles because it helps people kind of open up and share, get you into that heart space. So we go around and a lot of times we'll either pick a topic or you can just share on what's going on in your life. It allows people to come that maybe don't have a place to go talk. I feel very fortunate that I had the 12 steps to have a place. And I always had friends say, God, I wish that I had a problem drinking so I could go to these meetings.
Yeah.
There's no place like that. So that's where we've kind of created these meetings. And plus too, when you do plant medicine, it's really hard to talk to people about your experience to normal folks because they may not get it. And so, the plant medicine's a tool. The integration in what you do afterwards is where the growth happens. And we want to provide support. So again, these sharing circles are support for that as well.
Yeah, and so I'll speak to the success stories a little bit, but what I want to preface that with is this is not about somebody going in, using psilocybin one time and coming out and being like healed. Like big changes can happen and big awarenesses and shifts and perspectives and awakenings and activations. All that happens and it's true. However, what we see happening is that the people that are kind of in it for the long haul, their healing journey and their spiritual transformation, those are the ones that get the results. So the things that Candy was just talking about with giving people other opportunities to work on their healing through integration meetings, to these different events we have, the integration support, okay, after the fact, but also just as important is the preparation. This is missed by so many people, like not understanding that there's a preparatory phase. And we have a coaching programs actually for that through the church to help people prepare to go into a plant medicine ceremony. So we see people get the best results, the most profound results when they are incorporating all of those pieces, quite honestly. They're properly preparing, getting in touch and in tune with themselves, getting into a state of being present with themselves even before they are walking into using the plant medicine. Maybe they're doing some microdosing. Maybe they're doing some macrodose ceremonies. They're doing other healing events, say with the church or outside of the church, it doesn't matter. And then they're doing integration support. So when people are kind of piecing all that together, because honestly, that's what we see it takes. And building being part of a strong community, having community support, and that could be within our church or it could be anywhere else, as long as it's with like-hearted people. That's when they see the results. And so typically I'd say there's been a couple people that kind of come to mind that we've been working with for maybe a year or two in all those well-rounded capacities that I just talked about. What really strikes me most profoundly, I think, is when people come to us and like a first responder is coming to mind. Gosh, just like the just absolute devastated at a heart level, just because of the trauma of seeing the things that they see and have to do and witness as first responders day in and day out. And you couple that with a military background or, like it's just absolute devastation to people. And they're absolutely major depressive disorders, PTSD, can't work, can't leave their house, cannot form healthy relationships with people, suicidal ideation. I want to be clear that if somebody's saying they want to commit suicide, we don't we don't bring them into a plant medicine ceremony. They get professional help. We point them in that direction. But and just seeing the heaviness, like you can see a cloud on someone, you can see like their eyes are drawn, they have no color in their face, to just people just waking up and being alive. Either and it can be in so many different ways. It can be like stopping those careers, like making transitions out of those careers that kind of continue that wounding, like being able to make decisions so having that awareness of, oh crap, I keep putting myself in this situation to continue kind of getting this wounding. So being able to have that awareness and tell themselves and not be in fear that this is what they've done their whole life, that they can explore other options. So seeing those light bulbs go off and the smile on their face and the brightness and just the free form laughter, and seeing them doing really, really healthy things. We work with a lot of people that do have unhealthy habits and behaviors, addictions that might kind of fall in and fall out, and being able to see that they're not taking those routes anymore, that they're exchanging it for healthy habits and really finding the value and making connections with other people that are able to change careers and do what they love to do despite, all the thoughts about safety and security and money. Being able to go back to school and achieve higher education learning degrees. God, I know I just like put it all together, but like there's so many. There's not just one thing that's the biggest. It's like it's amazing. It's just absolutely amazing to witness the transformation and just see somebody going from absolute despair and not wanting to live to, oh my gosh, like this is what life is about.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. And that has to be incredibly rewarding too, just to be kind of, you're a catalyst. I mean, you've been able to kind of bridge that gap for people. The ideal person, let's say, what do they look like? Somebody who they would come to you and you're like, okay, yeah, this, you are somebody that we want to help, or we are able to help. Let me put that. What does that person look like?
I mean, for me, it is someone that really is wanting to make a change. They're at that place of whatever it is. It can be, I use this term, you've probably heard this, sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yep.
Because if you're not ready to do something different, then this is not a magic pill. And so what I find that my ideal person is someone, maybe they're in a job that they just don't like and they have that financial fear, or there's something, it can be something even like that. They're wanting to make a change, but they're stuck. They're stuck in their job. They're stuck in relationships, that they're really wanting to make a change, and they're willing to look at themselves. Because typically it's not the outside, it's not the job that's keeping us there. It's ourselves. So someone that's willing to take a look, that maybe has taken a look at themselves. Most of the people that come to us, I will say, it tends to be between that maybe 30-year-old to maybe even 60. that, you know, maybe they've had, you know, they've had the marriage, they've maybe have kids, they've had the job, they've had success, but there's something still missing in their life. And they can't figure out, they keep ending up in the same place. That's really kind of those tend to be our ideal clients.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd like to expand on that. You know, we talk so much about like having deep wounds and traumas and PTSD, and that just happens to be, you know, my story, Candy's story. I want to be clear that you don't have to have had those experiences to be absolutely perfect for plant medicine use. Really, it's about wanting to have a transformation within yourself, and that looks like so many different levels. Maybe you're just like a little bit unhappy and you just kind of want to find that brightness in your life. You, like Candy's talking about, maybe it's just like, I want to be able to change a job, those things. So one, I want to be clear, plant medicine is just not for people that have had major traumas. So that's number one. For me, the ideal person to work with is somebody that is willing to surrender all the control. So we have spent a lifetime trying to control everything around us, right?
Yep.
Like ourselves, people, places, things. Like we label everything and put it in a box so we can understand it and control it. You know, all of our fears. So it's to me, what plant medicine does is that it makes you really look at those things, and in many instances, like to free ourselves, we have to free ourselves from that level of control, because honestly, we don't have control over a darn thing. We really don't. We can co-create our realities, but ultimately, I can't control a whole lot. I certainly can't control you. I can't control what the economy's doing, or what's happening over here, or what's if I'm gonna wake up tomorrow morning. I can't control that. But we spend so much time and effort and thinking and controlling to try to drive that path. And so somebody that has a willingness to really look at that and surrender that control, and at least from a perspective of, okay, I'm willing to look at this. I'm willing to have maybe a different perspective of this. The willingness to surrender, it's really harder to do. Like, especially when you get into plant medicine, it is much harder to do than you think it is. You can sit there and go, oh yeah, I'm gonna go into plant medicine, I'm gonna surrender, and you get in there and you're like, whoop, nope, I'm not looking at that. I'm not giving up that control. Nope. And you have a miserable experience.
Yeah.
You absolutely have a miserable experience. I've done it way too much to know. But
it's very rewarding afterwards.
It's so good once you get through it. But digging in and trying to control the experience is a problem for people. So an openness, a willingness to look at things for how they really are versus the story that we tell ourselves of how they are. That kind of mind opening and willingness to surrender to a process that is unknown. And we are not good as human beings at doing any of that.
No, we are not. Yeah. So I just want to say, like, there's people that I meet and I can tell how much that they are doing on self-work and self-care. Mm-hmm. Pretty much off the bat. And that was one of the things that I could tell instantly about the two of you. There was a lightness about you, and wow, just thank you, for taking the time to hang out and talk about what you're doing and for helping people. Definitely will be, sending or letting people in my circle know that are here locally, but for audience members who are listening right now and they're not in Oklahoma, they're out of state, do y'all stay connected with other churches around the country doing similar work that you could help them out or get connected with, or do y'all pretty much stay isolated?
So that's a great question. So number one, with our coaching program, we can work with anybody in the world. If they speak English and have an internet connection, we can work with anybody.
Okay.
So number one, with kind of that preparation as well as integration piece, not all of our events are in person. We have quite a few that are online. We intentionally wanted to do that to be able to reach people that aren't necessarily local. We do have a lot of people that come from out of town to attend our ceremonies. But we are also kind of feeling the nudge to maybe do some traveling ourselves with taking our ceremonies a bit on the road. So we are absolutely open to, and we believe that is in our future to be kind of traveling around a bit and doing our ceremonies in other locations wherever that flow is. I don't know where that is right now, but we are where there's a need and an energetic fit. We are absolutely open to helping people and being of service in that way, wherever that is.
Yeah. And then we do also, if someone's in another state, maybe it's not a fit, maybe they can't get here. There's some partnership or people that we know that we might be able to help them with as well. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to ask that before I asked how can people get a hold of you? How can they find y'all?
The best place is at our website at sacredpillars.church. And we've got an events page there. Like I said, we've got about 8 different types of events, or 8 events a month. Again, it's the community, and you can have this profound healing outside of plant medicine. Like I said, we do a sound journey, which is, with sound bowls and drums and all different instruments that can get you to a state of consciousness that out of your head and into your heart space. And so you can have some profound healing and awarenesses there. So we do different things. So sacredpillars.church, we do free discovery calls. Like if someone wants more information about what we do and how we do it, they can schedule a call with us as well. And that's on our website.
Yeah. And I want to emphasize there the discovery call. So if anybody is wanting to work with us in a capacity, especially with using the entheogens, we require getting to know one another first. So we kind of talked about the situation of if somebody's fresh, clean, and sober, we need to know that. There's also some contraindications working with somebody working with the plant medicines and some health conditions or some medications. So we're not medical professionals, we're not doctors, we're not therapists, but we know anecdotally of things to kind of be on the lookout for and what would be red flags. We're also assessing somebody's readiness, as we're going to call it, as far as all those things that we talked about. Are they willing to look at themselves, sit with themselves, feel? How in touch are they with themselves? What are they doing right now to help themselves on their path already? So that's an absolute requirement. A lot of people, I feel like, kind of get tripped up on that they kind of get a little scared and they might not want to do that. But that's like the first step to take. That's like your first step to kind of liberating yourself and on your healing journey. So, and like Candy said, those are absolutely free and there's no obligation. We just want to be able to help people understand if plant medicine is a path for them. I'm personally not invested one way or the other. Like, I honestly don't care. Like, if you can get your healing through it, great. If we do all kinds of other things too that don't involve the plant medicine. So we're just there to help you understand if that might be a path for you. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. If you just search Sacred Pillars Church, you'll find us on those social media platforms as well.
Beautiful. And just you might be seeing me try to pop up in one of those events at some point. I would really like to go to one of those share circles.
Absolutely.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, we do one online the first Wednesday of each month. We do a Zoom sharing circle. And again, that's for people that, haven't had to attend our ceremonies. They could have attended any other ceremony. And we did that for people out of state. So, yeah.
Yeah, I want to be clear that you don't have to to be a part of our church community, you don't have to be using the plant medicine. There's lots of people that are wanting to learn about it and understand it, wanting to be around people that have had these experiences so they can get to understand a little bit better for themselves whether or not they want to be a part of it. So, the only requirement is that you want to kind of share your love and be in the love of other people that are like-hearted. So there's no requirement to be a part of our church, whether you're using plant medicines or not. We welcome absolutely everybody.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much. I'm really glad that we crossed paths, and this won't be the last time we talk by any stretch of the imagination. One thing that I do on the show, anytime people come on who have found freedom from addiction, I always like to carve out a little space at the end of the episode for you to talk to that member in the audience who might be listening to this and they are struggling to find a way out of active addiction. What words of advice, what is something that you would like to tell them?
Yeah, there's a different way to live, and there is help out there, and you do not have to do it alone. I think that was the biggest thing. I tried to do it by myself and I could not. And, for me, what worked the best was reaching out for help. And when I reached out for help, it led me to where I needed to go. Absolutely. And it's just for any type of healing, it's, if you look at it at just for the day, because that's all we have, it is a lot more manageable if you look at it at the day, at the minute, 5 minutes. If it's, alcohol, drugs, I don't care if it's anxiety or depression. If it's only for the day, if you look at it a day, it's much more manageable because that's really all we have.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I would, for myself, I feel like I've been addicted to just about any substance out there. I changed from cocaine to meth to alcohol to opiates. I just, so, it can seem so hopeless and just like this endless vicious cycle and circle. And, be persistent, be resilient within yourself. And like emotions aren't going to kill you. we think that they're going to, so we load up all these substances so we avoid ourselves, we avoid feeling whatever that is. And that to me is what it really takes. It takes that honest look at self and being able to kind of be present with yourself and sit with yourself and be able to acknowledge your feelings and not push them away. We want to label things as good, bad, right, wrong. The wrong things I want to run from, the good things I want to go towards. I'm going to pretend that the bad things aren't there. There's just this acknowledgement that I think if we could all do and accept and integrate those pieces that we don't like about ourselves as being truth and what they are, and then take action. It can all change. And that's exactly the formula that I used. I mean, that's exactly what I used. And I have absolutely zero desire to pick up any substances and use it in any kind of way that is not for healing and spiritual transformation. And you will know the difference. There will be absolute self-honesty and knowing if you are trying to pick up an entheogen to use it for true spiritual and healing transformation versus, I think I'm picking this up again because it's an addictive pattern. So, yeah, it's absolutely possible. Change is just possible. We got to stop running from ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That awesome advice. I identify heavily with both because the 24 hours I'm standing in is all that matters. And that's how I have to break it down many days. And also too, I had an old sponsor who used to tell me, you just wake up, take it on the chin. and you keep marching, and you got to feel all of that. And just thank y'all so much, like I said, again, for coming on. And is there anything else that we didn't cover you wanted to get out there real quick?
There's so much to cover, Drew. We just need to do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Oh, anytime. Absolutely. Well,
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Drew.
It's been wonderful, Drew. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you two have a wonderful evening, and we will see you soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you,
All
Drew.
right.
All right, there you go. Like I said, two amazing people doing a lot of great work, helping people really break down some barriers in their personal life. And, I think I'm going to start getting involved, at least in the sharing circles and some of those other events. But if, no matter where you're at, check them out. Holler at them. Sacredpillars.church. I'll have it in the show notes page. There's a lot of different pathways to healing, but I really do feel like the spirituality aspect is one that we often miss in a very real way on this journey of recovery, because it is a crucial aspect for making ourselves whole again. So Tiffany, Candy, thank you so much. And we're just going to segue right into the song of the day. And here's the thing. I have a very special song of the day, because this was somebody I met, Brian, on Twitter, right? And don't know how we started following each other. I went and read his bio, and he said he's in a band called Elite Fit Rhea. And I went and checked him out and instantly fell in love. So, and they are not, here's the thing, guys. I have one album that I love more than any other album. One of my top albums of all time is Nine Inch Nails with Teeth. I love the vibe. I love that kind of slow, melodic, industrial rock. And these guys have taken that and multiplied it. Like, this song is called The Center. And it is everything right now. I have played this song so many times over the past 48 hours since I heard it. And I talked to Brian. He said, absolutely throw it upstairs. So Brian, thank you so much. And guys, if you like the sound, go support them. They're on Spotify, YouTube, go subscribe. And I will also have a website link if you'd like to kind of follow along, because let me tell you, this is great music. And if you like Nine Inch Nails, if you like that type of sound, you're going to love this. So without any further ado, here is the song of the day. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.